Clearly, you've never heard of the legend of Vox Machina. Allow me to give you a proper introduction. Lovely. Got to translate this. Oh yeah? Oh.
For most, if not all of you, this is going to be your first RNR, so welcome. At the end of every season of a show that I'm watching, I like to do a special roundup of my top 3 episodes. I create a character tier list, I dive into the comment section, and react to some of the videos that you guys may have suggested. So we're not going to waste any time here and kick things off with the... Kicking off the list at number 3, we have episode number 1, The Terror of Teldore, Part 1. It really was a treat to finally witness Vox Machina fully animated and in action on screen. Having started my crit roll journey with Campaign 1, the nostalgia was off the charts for me. But what impressed me the most was just what a good introductory episode it was. I'm familiar with the campaign and whatnot, so of course I'm going to enjoy seeing it in action on screen, but it was crafted in such a way that I'm confident even somebody who has no familiarity with crit roll or anything like that would have just enjoyed it as a show in and of itself. On that same token of inexperience though, we have our number 2 spot. Episode number 11, Whispers at the Ziggurat. Being someone who has a bit of a limited experience when it comes to animated shows like this, I can truly and honestly say that I've never seen a fight sequence quite like that one before. The flow and dynamicism of the animated choreography in this episode was just far above any other that I'd seen in the season. Not only that, but the dialogue and the integrated elements from the campaign went beyond doing the source material justice. It exceeded it by leaps and bounds. But number 1 took all those elements and multiplied them by 10. And that would of course have to be episode 12, The Darkness Within. Not only did we somehow get a bump in quality from the previous masterpiece that was episode 11, but Matt and Talison's delivery in this specific episode was unparalleled. Here are just a few examples of what I mean.
She belongs to me! Not again! I won't let you take them! Sorry, Mother!
I gave you the means for revenge, and you gave me souls to feast upon.
They really took the whole saving the best for last phrase quite literally in this show. And you guys have said it only gets better, so I'm prepared to have my mind blown. Let's take a quick break from the lists and dive into the legend of the story of the legend of Vox Machina. I think I got that right. Let's roll it.
No one has ever really tried to adapt an RPG campaign into an animated series. So we're actually breaking new ground.
They created something that we didn't know the world needed.
Yeah, I had never seen anything like that until I discovered them. You know, it was a real challenge to try to find a text that was similar.
In the world of Exandria. It is an area of smaller nations, but there is an overall sovereign, Uriel, who is kind of the leader of the area. Vox Machina are a bunch of, I can't say heroes really, but they are people that are trying to get by. And they found that it's easier to survive and succeed as a group than independently.
Was that one of the original intros or something?
Came a party. The series begins with an new story.
It's a fantasy series. It's mature. It is fun.
Looks like either Photoshop or Clip Studio. I personally use Clip Studio Paint.
We wanted to capture kind of the spark and the magic of when we were playing at the table, just in a different form of media.
Literally, this was a group of friends having fun, and we as the writer's room should also be a group of friends having fun.
This is like the perfect, it's like the perfect combination, you know?
We've never worked with Brandon before, so this is the first time me and him were able to collaborate on something. But he was just great at
Avengers.
Being the person who's guiding the production side.
Eugene,
I can see some of that inspiration in there.
incredibly helpful along the way. Really implementing all of our notes.
Avengers Assemble, yes.
Jen Murrow knows so much about Critical Role. She's been a fan for a while. May Cat is so much energy and so many ideas. She was fantastic in the writer's room that way. Kevin and Doc are an amazing writing team that I've gotten the pleasure to work with over the years. Their dynamic as a writing team is fantastic. I'd never worked with Mark before, but he brings a wealth of experience in comics and live-action TV.
We also worked with Daniel Thompson, who came from the live-action world.
Westworld, Once Upon a Time, Terminator.
Ashley Birch, I had never worked with before until Vox Machina, but she's fantastic.
Hey, she was on the show.
Writer. She's actually played with us. She played Keg in our second campaign for a number of episodes, as well as a live show. I love when the writer's room is everyone throwing out ideas and everyone's kind of building on each other. And it's kind of from all different facets, just kind of brick after brick. You can see the wall coming to fruition.
This is really how shows should be made, you know? Both the creators and the, you know, fan base and the actual talent coming together.
There's going to be surprises. There's going to be things that are changed. But also at the same time, we want to do that because we want the diehard fans to not just come in and know everything. Like, you want to be surprised. You want things to change just enough.
To find a way to get to a place in the story where you're giving the audience the thing they didn't know that they wanted, but they actually needed.
When you're dealing with a pretty...
Tried to do that for you guys with the Sun Tree.
Certain ideas have to be changed or altered as part of the adaptation. It's a hard process.
There's things we were like, oh my God, he'll kill us. And then he was like, no, that's fine. We're like, we were worrying for 3 days about this.
Matt would always sit down and say, yeah, no, this is the way it was in the campaign, but if this is better, let's talk about it.
I mean, yeah, that's just that good DM talking, you know? Matt is a fantastic DM, and that is a major part of being a DM, just, you know, adapting, improving.
The fact that the cast created their own characters and that Matt, as the game master, created the scenarios, and then you're in the writer's room with those people, with that cast, you get to feed off that immediacy. It's like writing a Spider-Man script in the room with Stan Lee.
You can just feel the palpable energy of excitement, not just within us, but the animation studio and everyone who's working on the actual production side. It's already turning into something very, very special.
There's nothing better than if you love a property and you're seeing it expanded to a new world. It just takes it in a way you never even could envision as a fan.
Funnily enough, like, a lot of their representations were pretty similar to my own, you know, internal imagination of what the things look like. I think that's just a testament to, you know, the narrative skills of Matt. And that was kind of just like a trailer for the show, I guess. I know you guys mentioned that this came out, you know, before the actual show was released.
Rooms and taverns and courts, locations and color palettes. It's gorgeous. It's epic.
It's beyond all expectations.
To see it all for the first time, I went and I sat in my car and I just started crying because I was like, I can't believe this is real.
Like, who would believe something like that? You know, you went from playing a game with your friends to an entire franchise, like an amazing fan base, an entire show. It's amazing.
The size and the scale of it has felt so large and sweeping to us in our minds. And so you think, what could possibly live up to it? And the team at Titmouse has really been answering the call.
It's the animation team.
Feels like a company made of nerds, just like our company. We instantly felt a kinship and a shared language. It kind of lowered the barrier to entry.
Everyone else seems genuinely as excited to be a part of this as we're excited to have it happening.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like everything just went perfectly right with this.
I was one of the 90,000 to back this project in the first place. I had no idea I was going to be on it.
The fact that you've got somebody who really knows the show, who's designing things even down to minute detail, like even Matt Mercer's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Usually the executive producer has to explain to the art director the feeling that he's trying to evoke or she's trying to evoke, but Arthur knows that feeling because he watched it live. We're getting to revisit all these great locations that we explored in the original Vox Machina campaign that we played through live. Locations like Iman.
They really did a fantastic job. It was super beautiful.
These first episodes really kind of introduce us to that place.
Especially that shot in episode 12.
Scope.
Yeah, exactly.
We had to go back and look
This
at
is the
Matt's
shot.
original. He took what Matt did on a 2D piece of paper and turned it into a 3D world.
Stylistically, we just wanted to give people a nice way to sort of slip into this medieval fantasy world.
Vox Machina, as you know, makes a journey from Iman to Whitestone.
Terra, Cliffkeep Mountains.
We're looking at different landscapes existing in the real world, taking ideas from each of them and sort of assigning them locations. It's the Alabaster Sierras, so we picked from the actual High Sierras. Our other large location for season 1 is going to be Whitestone.
Loved it. The castle was a little bit different than I had personally envisioned, but still looked fantastic.
So all of our buildings kind of have this feeling of like a ship's bow coming out of the ground. All the rooftops have sort of that sloping ship's hull sort of shape to it.
And that's something that none of us would have ever thought of, not even Matt, really.
I don't know, give Matt a little bit of time.
What Arthur dropped on us the first time that we saw the Sentry literally made our jaws drop.
I wonder if Arthur ever pulled from like actual fan art.
Another thing that kind of took me by surprise is sort of the work that everyone put in to understand the world that we've been playing in for the past 5 years. And it's beautiful. It's so good.
I wonder what 3D software they used. Probably Maya. I mean, that's industry standard.
You really feel like these are drawings of real places and not just a quick sketch of a random temple.
It's funny, they couldn't include Percy's full name.
We start with storyboards that we're working off of, and then a background designer is going to take that storyboard and just really flesh out the composition. It's a lot like a DP for live action. You're trying to express what the story is telling you through light and color.
Framing is everything. Wherever you place your characters and wherever you place your action is going to have an intense impact on how the audience feels and how the audience relates to what's happening.
For sure.
We are really trying to elevate ourselves to create an animated show that even we've never done before.
I think the fans and critters are going to be floored by what we've made for them.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, this must have hyped up so many people. Having actually seen it already, it's everything they're saying is accurate.
I love drawing this stuff.
Man, it just seems like everybody they get to work on this project just has some kind of love for the work, which I mean is what you need, and that's how you get an amazing series like this.
I've seen hundreds of versions of Scanlan Short Halt, but when I found out that Phil Barraza was going to be our official character designer for The Legend of Vox Machina, it was like a great weight had been taken off my shoulders.
I'm a huge fan.
I think, yeah, he worked on like Young Justice or something.
I saw
like
his
that,
style
yeah.
and I connected with it in such an acute way. He has such a fan. As the fates would have it, when Laura and I sat down, I hear this, Travis? And I look to my left and across the aisle is Phil Barraza just sitting right there.
Travis was like, would you be down to take a pass at these characters? And I was like, hell yeah. Just something clicked for me, drawing this stuff. I'm just shy of 20 years now doing this. And I spent the last 11 consecutive years doing superheroes.
Yeah, I can kind of tell, you know, the inspiration coming from the DC animation.
Fantasy is my first love.
Phil is pretty much a legend in the animation industry out here, and the idea that he would be coming on to the project with us, I don't think I even believed it at first.
Normally when I'm creating a design, it comes from the written word or a comic book or even just the writer's script. These characters come from the imagination and the heart and the soul of the voice actors, the cast members.
But yeah, it's like they mentioned, you know, it's kind of like doing a Spider-Man movie with Stan Lee in the room. It's, you know, having the cast there and they did the characters, they played out every scene. It's really the perfect way to create a story. I think a lot of the writers these days for the shows that are coming out now, which let's be honest, are not all that great, but I think they should take some notes from that, you know? It just serves to create amazing shows like this.
So much is determined by the performances, what the creators had imbued in their creations. The way Laura's performance informs the way that I draw the character. she's got to have some sass. She's got to have some attitude. Whereas Keyleth has this charming naivete, like an innocent aspect.
She's just a little button. And I think because Keyleth has this fresh look at the world, we really wanted to reflect that in her character design.
Yeah, I can kind of tell why Marisha went with the bow route.
Percy and Vax are dexterity builds, so they're very lithe and long to kind of bring out, to show the agility and the dexterity inherent in the class.
We definitely want to make sure that this show feels unique, and I think Phil was well aware of that and totally down to just try anything and throw ideas at the wall and see what stuck.
Phil's design.
I am curious, what is this considered?
Animation
like
has to offer while feeling uniquely Western and uniquely, honestly, uniquely themselves.
Phil's stuff definitely leans way more in the anime direction, and anime itself is kind of like part of the...
As soon as I ask things, they're just getting answered.
There almost couldn't be a better match as far as Western character designers than Phil.
We are pouring every ounce of passion and love and creativity that we have at our disposal into trying to bring this world to life.
I think we're only really getting started with him. He's blown us out of the water with everything that we have in season 1. God's help us for what's in store in season 2.
It's exciting. Yeah, it's really cool to see, that background on the art aspect of things. Creating the thumbnails for this, they are by no means pieces of artistic, amazing work, but creating them, I did have to sort of study the art style of the show itself. Those first 2 episodes, I just kind of took a bunch of screenshots and really just looked at, where are all the lines at? How do the shadows fall? And it was really interesting. It did remind me a lot of anime art, just the way that the characters' head shapes are, the eyes, but it was definitely very unique too. And it did give me a lot of those, it did bring me back to a lot of those animated shows, like I mentioned, Justice League Unlimited. But yeah, apparently, they got the character designer from Young Justice here. So, of course. Yeah, it's really awesome to get a bit of background on that. All right, back into the lists. So now we have the... Quick caveat, I'm basing this on the show and what we've seen so far, not necessarily on the campaign itself. Also, this list is going S to D. We're not going to worry about anything below that because none of the characters were that bad that I want to put them so far down the list. And of course, I'll have an honorable mentions at the end with a lightning round to complete the list. So let's go. First up is Pike. I really love the exposition that they included in the show during her hiatus with Blind Spot. It fit really well with the overall story, and it was awesome to be able to see something actually completely new. She's also had her fair share of badass moments, that one at the Sun Tree in particular. Also, the fight with Silas, she was going crazy there too. She's gonna land on A. Percy. Percival Frederickstein von Musel Kowalski de Rollo III. Percy was already my favorite character going into this, and the show really only served to redouble that love that I have for the character. I'm a huge fan of darker stories, and to say that Percy's story is dark would be putting it light. Not to mention Talison's emotional and passionate vocal performance in this, as well as all of those revenge kills. Those scenes were just so intense. I really loved every second of seeing Percy on screen. So that's gonna land him on the S. Keyleth. We aren't necessarily at her moment to shine in the story yet, but that did not stop her from performing some of the most epic and large-scale feats of power and ability that we saw in the show so far, minus that Pike scene. She's starting to grow in confidence a bit as the episodes go on, loving the character dynamics between her and Vax and Vex, so that landed her on an A. Grog. Again, not exactly his moment to shine here, but I do love the humor that he brings to the show, along with the innocence that an intelligence score of 6 will bring as well. I also really enjoyed the wholesomeness of the moments between him and Pike. I always loved their dynamic in the actual campaign itself, and I really can't wait for his arc to begin. Seeing Kevdak for the first time will be awesome. You know, seeing this Titanstone Knuckles and seeing the transformation that happened is going to be quite epic. So he's a B. You know, not bad, but, you know, we haven't seen too much from him yet. Scanlan. The Meat Man. The Scan Man. I put him up there as like one of my second favorites. A lot of people coming in new, I can see why they wouldn't really like Scanlan, because he's a stereotypical horny bard. Like, what can you do? But I really enjoy later on when stuff starts to get a little bit more serious. I hope we get some of that in season 2, but I honestly didn't think he was that bad in this season. He's always good for a laugh, so he's landing on A. Vex. Yeah, Vex is in that second favorites tier as well. Laura Bailey obviously does a fantastic job, but who would expect anything less from Laura Bailey? She has some awesome moments and some like storytelling elements with her ability to sense dragons and whatnot. I definitely enjoyed seeing her in action on screen for the first time, so she landed on an A. Vax. Liam is fantastic when it comes to emotional scenes and delivery, and he definitely didn't hold anything back from this performance for sure. He was that badass rogue in the campaign, and they definitely kept that element to him in this adaptation. But again, since this arc was mainly focused on Percy, we didn't get a ton of those pivotal character moments as far as everybody else goes. So still loved seeing him. He landed on an A. The Briarwoods. So I've already mentioned how much I love the Briarwoods as antagonists. The impact that they have on Exandria as a whole really just speaks for itself. Their presence is felt in each and every campaign. I also loved getting a bit of background, or at least, you know, a little bit of a teaser of a background. We went back to when the bargain was struck between them and the Whispered One. And also that little monologue that she did right before Cassandra, you know, stuck her with the rapier. It was, gave me chills for a reason, you know? Well, I'm not going to spoil anything for those who haven't seen the campaign, but... Alright, enough of the long, drawn-out talking. We are going to go into the lightning round now. Vedmire, B. Stonefell, C. Archie, A. Yenin, A. Ripley, B. Orthax, S. Alora, B. Krieg, A. Uriel, B. Cassandra, A. Gilmore, B. Anders, A. Kima, B. And last but not least, Matt. He was sprinkled all throughout this S, of course. We wouldn't be here without Matt. All right, let's hop back into the behind the scenes.
Your minds are gonna be blown, y'all.
Hey. Now we get to see how many people I missed.
As a person that has been a lifelong fan of cartoons, it's kind of been a dream to work on one from a production standpoint, let alone from a voiceover standpoint. And now to kind of marry them all together and have it be based on something that I kind of made up is crazy.
We are just a group of high-key nerds, but we also happen to be, you know, good at what we do.
Extremely.
For me, creativity comes with trust, and I think we all trust each other enough to help bring out the best with each other, and there's enough respect there to make sure that this collaborative area is safe.
It would have been something else to be in that room, I think.
Loving Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. You may remember her as Zara back in Campaign 1.
I can't wait to see her animated, and her and Cash.
When we started this whole thing playing tabletop around Matt's dining room table, we were all gathered together, the 8 of us, in a room face to face. And now recording the cartoon, we are all 8 of us in a room together.
That's
and
awesome.
We are creating a...
I don't know if that's, you know, standard. I think a lot of the time it's just like one person.
That energy was electric.
I'm sure.
Having her ideas and her overall creative view and lathering that in with ours has helped us elevate our performances and bring it to the best version of it can be.
3, 2, 1.
Not all animation allows actors to record in group settings.
Yeah, I thought so.
Invariably gives a more nuanced performance and also provides a better opportunity for chemistry to happen in the group.
Exactly, like face to face and feeding off each other, especially when they have so much like connection as the cast of Critical Role does.
And then the pandemic hit.
And then everything, of course, fell apart everywhere.
For us on the voiceover side, we were partially prepared for that. Most of us have some kind of a rig set up at home so that we can audition.
Thankfully, a lot of us came up in video games, so we're used to the solo recording experience, and a lot of us can still deliver at the top of our game without having other people there to play off of.
I wonder which episode that this happened in, or if they kind of did it out of order.
Since we're recording individually remotely from different locations, we can talk over each other all we want. And it's getting picked up on 2 separate mics and the audio is totally clean.
You can have a little bit more of a natural read almost.
Normally in a project like this, you're kind of in the dark about things, but we all know what we're doing.
A lot of these shots of Taliesin just going in, just goes to show how amazing that performance was.
Casting and recording these characters that we have enjoyed and loved coming out of Matthew Mercer's mouth, but obviously because of reasons, we need to find new voices for them.
I still want to hold on to some characters that I feel a connection with. So
Silas.
I am excited to be coming in as Silas Briarwood.
Fantastically done.
We want this to be a love letter to all the people that supported us through all this time and made all of this possible.
They achieved that tenfold. Yeah, that looked amazing. Definitely, I'm sure the editing, hyped it up a bit, but just going into work with people that are your friends and that you spend a ton of time with, like they've done this every Thursday for years. Well, not necessarily every Thursday, but most Thursdays for years, for hours on end, and we don't even see half the stuff that happens behind the scenes. So being able to do a project like this with people you have so much rapport with, I can't imagine. It must have been so amazing to be on a production like that. And that's something I really want to do myself. This part of the reason I started this channel was to be able to, fund some of the projects that I want to produce in the future. But that is information for another time, though. Let's continue.
If you have a good sound system, get it ready. Get on the TV, crank the volume up.
Ooh, we're gonna get some music. Hope I don't get smacked with copyright on this.
I worked for many years on the Stargate franchise, and then at some point got an opportunity to write music for video games, and that meant World of Warcraft, and that led to StarCraft 2 and Diablo 3 and Overwatch eventually.
I haven't played any of those games, but I do know the music from them.
At that moment, I realized I can talk all I want about this, but the only way to really convey my enthusiasm is to do it through music.
I know he took some inspiration from the, already created works.
Unbeknownst to us, Neil, on his own, scored a variation of what he called sort of the Critical Role theme, bringing in elements from previous versions, but also just building the size of the sound to show what could be possible.
I went all in, hired an orchestra, recorded it, sent it to Sam, and said, this is just my way of saying thank you for considering me.
Talk about commitment. Hired an orchestra. I know that can't be cheap.
It hit our inbox, and I think I stood in the kitchen with a glass of water and listened to it about 37 times. It was one of the first moments where we really realized what could be possible with how we deliver this show.
Yeah, it's an epic score, and it definitely paid an homage, huge homage to the existing content.
Instead of adapting the RPG, I'm adapting the cinematic influences that they had when they created these moments. I get in front of a keyboard and I start playing along, and it's kind of become this intuitive thing where it's kind of a puzzle. The acting and the pacing of the scene are clues that'll help get you halfway there, but then finding these threads that will tie the entire season together.
I can understand quite a few art forms, but music is just something that's always just kind of escaped me, honestly. Like, I've played around with creating music, but it's just never, I don't know, I can never really seem to grasp onto it like I can other mediums of art.
I had the chance to bring in some longtime collaborators like Tina Guo. Paul Cartwright is playing fiddle, Kristen Nigas playing woodwind, Budapest Scoring Orchestra, player Eric Rigler. He played on Titanic and Braveheart. The one thing I knew starting out is that Your Turn to Roll theme had to be a presence in the score.
Your Turn to Roll is really the song that we have built most of the second campaign around, but there are elements of it now that are just associated with Critical Role as a brand.
Every time it starts out, I just see Ford going into the water.
In moments of action, humor, sadness, Neil will brilliantly weave these notes from that song in.
If you are a music nerd, you're going to catch a lot of wonderful little nods.
I'm not much of a music nerd, but I definitely caught a few.
It's not all one musical genre. We're bringing in a much wider breadth of musical influences that makes it way...
Oh, an actual lute.
To me, Grog is heavy metal. Pike and Keyleth, I've approached both with a similar kind of flute and
choir, Percy, a little bit of a classical operatic approach, Bax and Beck, classical waltz. Sam asked me to write a heavy metal piece where Scanlan's playing the lute and it turns into a heavy metal guitar. And I'm like, all the rules are out the window. Scanlan really opened up the musical Pandora's box.
Yeah, he's a music-based bard.
His singing and music activates his magical powers, but the main point of the Scanlan songs, for me anyway, is just to make people laugh.
Speaking of which, I do love what they did with Scanlan's like bardic type of powers, because stuff like the D&D movie didn't necessarily see anything like that. Like, he had a lute and he played it, but we didn't really see anything come out of that. But Scanlan, on the other hand, entirely based on that, which is fantastic to see. And also on the flip side of that, Anders was a bard. Seeing that variation of the abilities was amazing too, and it had its own uniqueness, you know.
We decided to make Scanlan's music completely original, and so me, along with my brother-in-law, Peter Habib, have composed a brand new set of Scanlan originals.
We keep laughing because not only is it hilarious, but it makes sense and it fits and it elevates the narrative. Modern slapdickery. I have no other way to really explain it.
Through the course of Sam and I writing these wild songs, I've gotten a lot of insight into what a dirty birdie he is.
I knew they were going to be extra, but they've gone super, super extra. Possibly one of the big reasons why this is going to be a very adult cartoon.
My hope is that it brings the world that you guys know so well to another level.
It's really interesting to, you know, watch this after I've seen season 1, you know, because all these promises, they came through, you know. It's not like they're just talking nonsense here. It's like it's actually, it all came together phenomenally. Now we'll get to see who all I missed.
It's an interesting circumstance to be developing an animated series where I created and performed so many of these characters, and then now we have the opportunity to bring them to life.
Part of us will always want Matt to voice every old man, woman, child, but
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't?
The guests we've had come in and...
You know who that just brought to mind? What was the guy's name from Vasselheim? The guy who had all the black powder. I forget his name, but I really hope they include him. And Matt voices him, because that would just be so good.
Sunil Malhotra has done an incredible job of portraying Gilmore.
You're gonna have to forgive me, because not only am I horrible at actors' names, but voice actors is gonna be another level. So, like, I may have seen them or know them from something, but I probably won't recognize them at first.
If he's not selling his wares, he's selling himself.
What a way to put it.
What we ended up with was enough of Matt's version of the character that we still recognize him as the Gilmore that we fell in love with, but this new spin, a new take that has an authenticity that we could not have gotten if Matt had played the character. Exandria is such a broad, diverse, crazy place. To populate that with voice actors who aren't just the main 8 cast members of Critical Role was always a big goal of ours.
Bring everybody up with you, you know? Not that they were low at by any means, but when you get blessed, you know, bless other people.
Sovereign Uriel is a huge part, which meant that we needed a huge voice. Kari Payton was someone that we turned to for that, and he delivered instantly. He has a level of regality to his voice that you just can't ignore.
Felicia Day is a perfect example of someone you will hear rattling.
Yeah, when you guys commented that Felicia Day was in there.
Her level best to defend Amand against its enemies in a few of the early episodes.
She was a big part, you know, of starting
We would
off
not be
Critical
here
Role,
without Felicia Day. She took a chance on us. She saw the possibility.
This keeps happening.
Good old Bobby Hall got to play some guards in some of the earlier...
Yeah, Logic. That's crazy. I expect Logic to be a voice actor.
Eugene Bird as Jarrett. Jarrett got a new role in this show. He is now a captain of the Arms of Amon in the animated series.
Jarrett is the kind of guy that you need to prove it to him. You need to prove it to him more than a few times.
Hello, my name is David Tennant, and I'm playing General Krieg.
He really is the one that brings it to life for the community as well for the first time.
I can't believe you made it out alive. I think this is how all shows should be pitched. They should all start in somebody's front room. and end up on television. Why not?
Exactly what I was saying earlier.
Tony Hale.
Of Veep fame is our Fence.
The head cleric is Anjali Bhimani. Cassandra DeRollo, sister of Percy, played by Esme Creed Miles. The Tavern Keeper, which was a fan-created character, voiced by Mason Alexander Park. Goddess, voice of the Everlight, is Tracy Toms.
One Punch Man himself, Max Middleman, as Desmond, the coachman for the devious Briarwoods.
Bryn, who is a brand new character to the series, is voiced by Stacey Raymond. For Yenin, we have Gina Torres.
Your first take of her is really someone of great calm and spirituality, but she has a much greater agenda. She also has a couple of tricks up her sleeve, which make her badass.
When it came
pacifist, not at all.
Shooting for the Moon, we reached out to Dominic Monaghan, and he said yes.
Archibald is a kind of buccaneering, swarthy man of short stature.
He chews and works with his words, gave a whole new shape to the character of Anders.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You can't go wrong
Sanity.
with Royer McCann, the Hound from Game of Thrones. Kelly Hu does an incredible job from Game of Thrones, Indira Varma for Lady Allura Vysoren.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a fantastic job. I never would have guessed that was her.
Played by the incredibly funny Stephanie Beatriz.
She has...
Really? Isn't she in Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something like that?
Delilah Briarwood.
Villains, I've been playing them for decades, and they're just so deliciously wonderful to play.
Delilah is a very complicated...
He said that just like Silas.
Brimming intensity and threat, while still keeping that cordial, presentery upper crust.
She does do horrible, horrible things, but it's all in the name of love, so you have to root for her just a little bit.
We also have the talented Darren DePaul joining us as Kyrian Stonefell.
He's
fantastic job.
Evil, he's disgusting, he is a mess. So I'm sure, of course, Darren, he's disgusting, he's evil, he's a mess. We've got to make it him.
Nobody's going to get into that part of the basement of their voice like Darren can.
Death to the Derolers!
Watching this universe come to life, it's bigger and more complex than I even imagined.
Who would have thought that we would get to tell these stories in this medium, and people aren't ready for how vibrant and exciting it looks.
It's very like those cartoons that you watched as a kid. It kind of reeks of nostalgia, but with swear words. And what could be better?
For many, many years, this was truly a world that only existed in a handful of people's imagination.
Handful? No, it existed in millions of people's imagination.
This isn't my world anymore. This is our world.
Top comment is always going to get a shout out. So if you guys really like to comment, then make sure that you like the comment so that it ends up at the top. Starting out with episode number 1. This is coming from Candlelight129. Most CR fans reacted to this show right as each batch of episodes aired. I love seeing people discover it for the first time, but it's great to still get some critters out here reacting to it. This show is so great and such a fantastic recreation of the campaign without being a direct one-to-one translation. It only gets better from here, and I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions to the rest of it. Yeah, you definitely were right about that. It is a fantastic adaptation. And now having seen the behind the scenes, they really were taking that into consideration. Having something that they can introduce to new people and, get new people interested in the property itself, but also still keep critters and fans who already discovered Critical Role engaged and entertained with some callbacks, but also some new things. This next one is coming from Arborhawk. The other big C2 Easter egg was the stuffed red weasel in Gilmore's shop. And, I went back and looked and I saw that. But while I was going back to check that one, I did see another one when Scanlan is introducing everyone, during Keyleth's introduction, she's like playing around with the red weasel as well. On to the next video, which was episodes number 3 and 4. Top comment, the beastie that Keyleth turned into is known as a jackalope. Yeah, I had no idea what it was. There are some aspects of D&D that I am super aware about, and and others that I just have completely no idea about. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to have to be like, yeah, I know exactly what this is and I know how to beat it and all that stuff. I'd rather just be completely surprised and learn in the moment, you know? But I do appreciate it. This one is just an excerpt from a little bit of a longer comment from Inky Petrol. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The belt's name was Simon. I knew he had some kind of name. I was gonna say Cedric, I think, but I didn't want to mess it up. And another reply to that comment was coming from John Tembrel. Simon the One-Eyed Snake. Love the little eye patch. Yeah, it was a great touch. I forgot about that whole gag with the, you know, trouser snake thing. That was just one of the inside jokes. I don't think they really stuck with me too well, but yeah, I appreciate you guys reminding me of it. Third video here, which was episodes number 5 and 6. Top comment on this one was the Duke is voiced by the guy who played the Hound in Game of Thrones, Rory McCann, and Stonefell is none other than Darren DePaul. They did an awesome job. Completely agree. While I was editing that video, I did look it up and I did credit them in the video. They really killed it with that. I think Darren DePaul is probably the one that surprised me the most. His was specifically a lot more transformative from his normal voice. Rory's was still rich, well done, but once you know it's him, you can kind of tell it's him. Whereas Darren DePaul, even though I know it's him, he still transformed his voice in a way that really highlights the talent and the range that he has. This one's coming from John O'Brien 7562, watching Marisha react and trying to push away from what was about to be revealed. I don't know if it was worse in stream where it was a shock or actually getting to meet the victims first. As I mentioned in the reaction, that whole sequence was a very memorable moment in the actual stream, and it caught me off guard. I mean, everyone off guard, really, of course, except for Matt, because he planned it, but super dark. And it really set the tone for how Percy's arc was going to be. Captain Stonefell was always on the list, and Percy did say that he was the one he was least looking forward to. Yenin was an old man, but when you get the chance to cast Gina Torres, you take it. Archibald Disney was also an old dude, but instead we got a hobbit, and Jolly Exus Fial. That's the head cleric.
Are you fucking dumb?
I'm not really sure the pronunciation on that. Anjali Bimani is the head cleric. I know I just watched the behind the scenes, but it'll probably take me a minute to get that right. It's nice to have talented friends, I guess. And it's also nice when your friends actually come through. I appreciate the comment and the clarifications, John. It was like 3 years ago that I watched that. I don't really have the time to like rewatch, maybe highlights if I get the chance to see them, but it's on to the next video. Top comment, when Pike is lost in the darkness, she's actually lost in a demiplane known as the Blind Spot, filmed in New York. Yeah, that was definitely deserving of top comment for sure. I mean, I took it as a joke, but I don't know, maybe it is in the lore that it's called the Blind Spot. I was kind of wanting it to be like, you know, the Divine Gate in the background. It's probably just a cool representation, you know. Episodes number 9 and 10. This one's coming from Purple Like Fire. The Briarwoods are the epitome of ride or die, then ride some more. Completely agree with that. It is scary what lengths they will go to stay together, especially on Delilah's end. Deals with the Whispered One, you know, necromancy, vampirism, they'll go to any length to stay together and stay alive too. That one line to keep Silas alive, she made some pretty huge decisions. Next up we have one coming from Native Whispers 960. When I tell you my heart skipped a beat at Pike's entrance, and I still get goosies watching others react the same. Another great reaction. Thank you. I know she came in spectral form during that whole Briarwood arc. I just had completely forgotten about it, and once I saw that symbol in the sky, that was just, you know, all she wrote as far as like knowing who it was. They really gave her an epic entrance. I was kind of hoping to see, you know, those spectral wings that she had for a little bit when she came in during the campaign, but, you know, still an epic scene. This next one's coming from Dracoleary, maybe? The place where the Briarwoods backstory occurred was not on Taldore, but the nearby continent of Wild. Delilah was actually among the most powerful mages from there. I was thinking it was revealed C3. El Bruce's came in and said they believed it was C2, and H. Helobates 4098 said history of the Briarwoods and Ripley was revealed in campaign wrap-up. So I'm not too sure where exactly it happened. You know what? Let me just research it. So yeah, it was Vox Machina that it was revealed, and during episode number 24, The Feast, why Nandir was mentioned. All right, on to the next one. Episodes 11 and 12. Top comment coming from John Tembrell. The cuts with Matt talking as the Sun Tree killed me. It was one of the things I truly missed from the animated series. I missed it as well. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it so much. Like 90% of the comments on this video were talking about that. It was fun to go back and kind of sort through all the sound bites and try to pick one that would fit best with the scene. And I think we'll wrap things up with a comment from the first video coming from William Latour 3468. Bidet. Again, I appreciate all the comments. I can't really get to all of them in the video, but I do my best to respond or at least read all of the comments that you guys post. We're going to wrap things up with SCANLAN'S musical recap of season 1, so let's roll it.
I understand you want to hear the legend of Vox Machina. It's still kind of being written, but here's what I got so far. Let me catch you up on the story of a legend.
I'm surprised he was invited back into this bar, or maybe this occurred before. Well, it couldn't have. It couldn't have.
I stumble upon a wall ad cause I needed to be. The siren hires us to kill an unknown enemy. Turns out to be a dragon and he
I loved that transformation. That was amazing.
Vox Machina becomes protectors of the realm. Gets invited to a party in Uriel's. The Briarwoods show up and Percy freaks the fuck out cause they slayed his whole damn family and took the crown. Would we follow him?
I feel like this is like just a continuation of his little intro that he did in episode 1 when he was like introducing himself to the Sovereign and stuff. Like you can hear some of those same notes, you know?
Whitestone is in shambles and the Sun Tree almost dead. Yeah. Percy's popping off their henchmen with the list on his cat.
His cat.
Smoke keeps pouring out of him. Yo, what the fuck is up with that? Find his sister Cass, but she gets her throat cut. We see red. Kiki's lightning reaction. Ashari magic saves her ass, and we bust out of there. I need some hot three-way action. Delilah.
The moaning ad-libs. Honestly, only in a SCANLAN'S song can you get some moaning ad-libs.
The whispered one appears. Oh no, the end is nigh. Percy battles the internal demon. He takes a stand, and he overcomes the curse, but he shoots his own hand. Cassandra stabs Delilah dead and vows to the people of Whitestone to be their new head. We return to Ilan, his hometown heroes, you know. Uriel makes a speech and seats control. As the dragons come for us.
I really can't wait to see Thordak and the rest of the Chroma Conclave. It's going to be pretty sick. To be able to keep up the rhyme scheme, stay on beat, while also recapping the season. He's had so much practice doing this that it really comes as no surprise to me that this is going as smoothly as it is.
It happen, all my people. It's time to strap on.
Wouldn't be a SCANLAN'S song without a bit of innuendo, you know?
I mean in. No, I mean on. Woohoo! Thank you. Thank you. Tips are appreciated. Hey, now let's see what happens next.
You know, yeah, I love that shot at the end with the Chroma Conclave coming into Amon. What are your guys' favorites out of all of the Chroma Conclave? For me personally, it's Raishan, just because we got to see a lot deeper into the character and we got, you know, a lot more face time with Raishan. I'm interested to see who you guys thought was the best or who you guys enjoyed the most. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below with your favorite part of the season as a whole, or maybe if you enjoyed a specific part of this video. Also, if you guys have any suggestions for future RNRs, just drop them in the comments. I'm always looking to improve these videos any way that I can. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in season 2.